Right. So, electronics and kids, not always the safest combination, right?
Yeah.
I mean, who wants to give like an 8-year-old
Right.
a soldering iron, right? You just imagine like
Melted plastic.
melted plastic, burnt fingers, all that fun stuff.
Exactly.
But today we are looking at something completely different.
Yeah.
And it's actually teaching kids electronics, but using wood thumbtacks and paper clips.
Really interesting stuff.
Yeah, so we're gonna deep dive into this and figure out how this works.
Yeah. How does this make electronics safer?
Safer, more engaging.
Hands-on for kids.
For kids, exactly. Yeah.
What I find fascinating is it's all about this hands-on learning. Developing motor skills at the same time is learning about electronics.
Yeah, and they say this in the source material.
Yeah, okay.
When the children see the assembled circuit, they say, is that all we're going to do? That is easy. But they realize very quickly that it is not so easy to strip a wire or to hold a thumbtack with pliers to hit it into the wood with a hammer.
Right, because suddenly they're not just dealing with the concept of electricity.
Yeah.
They have to actually manipulate these things in the real world.
It's not just theoretical anymore. It's like, I've got to strip this wire.
Yeah.
And I've got to like hammer this thing in.
Yeah, and that's where the real learning happens, right?
Totally.
When they realize it's not just clicking things together on a screen.
Yeah, absolutely. And it talks about the different components in these kits.
Okay.
Resistors, LEDs, diodes, batteries, buzzers.
Right, classic.
Yeah, so can you break down like what each of those does for people who might not?
Yeah. Okay, so resistors are basically like, think of it like a speed bump for electricity.
Okay.
It slows down the flow so you don't overload things.
Got it.
LEDs, you know those little lights you see everywhere?
Yeah.
Tiny little light bulbs.
Yep.
Very efficient.
Yeah.
Diodes are like a one-way street for electricity.
Oh, okay.
They only let it flow in one direction.
Got it.
That's important for making sure things work properly.
So are there different types of resistors and diodes then?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
How would a kid using this kit learn about that?
Well, you'd have, different values of resistors to control how much electricity is flowing.
Okay.
So they might try one and the LED is really bright. Yeah. And then they put a bigger resistor in and it's dimmer.
Got it.
And with diodes, if you try and put the electricity the wrong way, nothing happens. It's blocked.
Yeah.
So they learn about that kind of one-way flow.
Right. Okay. So we've got the flow. We can light things up.
Yeah.
What about the power source? What about making some noise?
Okay. So the battery, that's like the energy source, right?
Right.
It's what's pushing electricity around.
Okay.
Like the pump in the water system. And then you've got the buzzer.
Yeah.
Which is always a good one for kids because they can make noise.
Exactly.
So you can hook that up and make little alarms and little beeps and boops.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a fun way to get them engaged.
So I'm imagining like a kid trying to figure out how to put all this together.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, I get the pieces now.
Right.
But how do I actually make this into a circuit?
Okay. So that's where the circuit diagrams come in.
Okay.
These are like the instructions.
Yeah.
And they show them where to put each component.
Okay.
How to connect them all together.
Right.
With wires.
Okay.
So they're learning that visual language of electronics at the same time.
So it's not just about connecting the pieces.
Right.
It's about understanding what that looks like in a diagram.
It's like learning to read a map.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
But for electronics.
And then they get to actually build it.
Yeah.
Which kind of cements.
Exactly. It all comes together.
Yeah, exactly.
And they're going to make mistakes along the way.
Yeah.
They might put something in the wrong place.
Right.
Or a wire might come loose.
Yeah.
And that's where they really learn, right?
Totally, yeah.
Because they have to figure out why it's not working.
They have to problem solve.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's a skill that's useful for everything in life. Not just electronics.
Yeah, and it builds confidence too, right?
Absolutely.
Like, oh, I can figure this out.
That sense of accomplishment when they get it working.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Okay, but hammers, wires, all that.
Yeah.
Some parents are going to be listening and be like,
I know.
No way I'm letting my kid do that.
Right.
What would you say to those parents?
Well, first of all, these kits are designed with safety in mind.
Okay.
So the components are big.
Yeah.
No choking hazards.
Right.
The batteries are low voltage.
Okay.
So no chance of getting a shock. And the wood is a nice stable base, you know, so everything's secure.
So you're not worried about things like short circuiting or?
Not really, no. And of course, adult supervision is always a good idea.
Yeah.
Especially with younger kids.
Sure.
But, with a little guidance.
Yeah.
It's a really safe and fun learning experience.
So for any parents out there who are listening, who are intrigued, The website is www.gyreelectronics.co.ca.
Okay.
Or you can reach them at sales@gyreelectronics.co.ca.
Oh, right.
So, I mean, this has been really fascinating to learn about.
Yeah.
It's so cool how they've taken this kind of potentially intimidating thing and made it so accessible for kids. I mean, it's about the hands-on learning.
Absolutely.
It's about developing these practical skills.
Problem solving.
Yeah, exactly.
Thinking outside the box.
Yeah. And it's potentially sparking like a lifelong interest in STEM, right?
Exactly. I mean, who knows what these kids might go on to create.
Yeah, and I think even beyond the electronics, like we were saying, it's those problem-solving skills. It's that resilience.
It's that mindset.
It's that mindset that's going to help them in anything they do.
Absolutely. And that's what's so exciting about this.
Yeah.
It's not just about circuits.
Yeah.
It's about giving them the tools to tackle any challenge.
Yeah, and who knows what those challenges might be, right?
Exactly.
The world's their oyster.
That's right.
Well, this has been a fantastic deep dive.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it.
I'm excited to see what these kids come up with.
Me too.
Using all these skills they're learning. Yeah, it's inspiring.
Yeah, it is.
All right.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
And we'll catch you on the next deep dive.
See you then.